right, guys. The Anime Award drama continues as we have Chibi reacting to a podcast which has some of the OG anime critics, right? We got like shit, what's their name? Arcadum and Mother's Basement, right? I'm not sure who the person in the middle is. I'm sorry. I am not terminally online as you might think, but apparently it's rigged and we got some confirmation going on, some insider info. Please let me know.
To do anything. I was a judge this year.
What?
You want to know what my experience was?
They let YouTubers be judges? I mean, no disrespect to this guy. Like, I've been watching his videos since a long time ago, right? He's definitely an OG that, you know, makes it's Glass Anime Reviews, right? Glass Review Anime, I forget, but it's wow. I'm surprised that they let, like, I don't know. For some reason, it's hard for me to believe that Crunchyroll would let like YouTubers be judges. I thought they would have their own like specific paid and bought like just puppets that they can just use to say they have judges.
For clarification, this is Glass Reflection.
Yeah.
One of my favorite anime content creators. He has been in the game working with anime for way over a decade, since the early 2010s. I remember watching his videos before I even was an anime content creator. He knows what he talks about. He understands anime. He understands the culture. He is definitely very informed about the anime industry. Cool. If there's anyone I definitely could understand or believe in what they're talking about, it's definitely this man right here.
Just setting some, you know, some for the young people who have no clue who these guys are. Like, these are not random tourists. They are like the OG veterans of the anime community. And if there's anyone that's credible enough to give accurate ratings of what good anime is beyond just a popularity contest, it would be these guys.
And this is his experience as a judge for this year at the Crunchyroll Awards, and what he had to go through, and why the results turned out like it did. So let's let him speak here.
My experience was, hey, here are our categories these years. Here's the rough criteria, which is the same, and then it's been for every year. Sure, fine.
Oh, good. It's not like they announced that publicly.
And then...
Yo, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but they gotta fix this audio quality. You guys have the Shure SM7B mic. These are industry-standard podcast mics that I also have. You can clearly tell that the audio is fucking scuffed in their video compared to mine, bro. My production value is that of a fucking wet cardboard. I have the most scuffed production value, but yet I still have better audio. How the hell does this fucking team not have the audio figured out?
Which is the same, and then it's been for every year. Sure, fine.
Oh, good. It's not like they announced that publicly.
And then it was like, okay, well, here is my choices for these. Previous years, we've ranked them. There was like points to be assigned and things.
Okay.
This year was just like, what would you put here? And then...
What would you put here? Also, Symphonium, right? Over here. We got some great goated like KyoAni animes just to kind of heighten their credibility. But before, they would have a rating system. Numbers, points. Now, they don't even ask. They're like, what would you put here? To kind of be like, all right, we'll take your suggestions, but at the end of the day, we don't really care.
That made the nominations.
They didn't have numerical ranking.
Nah.
So you didn't rank, you didn't assign points.
They just had...
Oh, there was no round two?
No, there was no round two. No, they just collated your submitted...
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Wait, what?
Like, a point system I think is so important because it's like how much, like, if we have multiple choices and we rate them based on a number system, you can compare, right? There's quantifiable measures. Crunchyroll is getting rid of that entirely. They want to obviously take as they want to keep the judges around for some sort of credibility at hand, which I think goes away with, you know, basically this happening as we know what's actually happening behind the scenes. But at the same time, they want to also like bake the cake and eat it too. Give the illusion that the judges exist and they're actually putting in the work. But at the end of the day, they don't even ask the judges of anything worthwhile. Just, what would you put in there? Oh, you're going to put that in? Okay, we might take that into consideration.
They just asked the judges to submit nominations and then averaged out which ones had the most nominations.
Let's get...
And who's to say that they even averaged out the nominations? I feel like they could have just ignored that shit entirely and just said, all right, thank you for your info in the ballots. Not like we're really going to care about it because we have a separate agenda to kind of glaze these specific animes that has just numerically been the most popular on our platform. And since this is a popularity contest, anime of the year, we're just going to go with that.
Do I need to explain what's bad with this? Like, it is absolutely soul-crushing.
Yeah.
Just how incompetent of a company Crunchyroll really is. Like, I already have talked about
incompetent, yes, but I don't think this is really about competency, because I don't think that like they know what they're doing. Like, this is intentional, you know? They're trying to manipulate the vote as if there isn't any vote in the first place, because again, of the suggestions, and they have a clear agenda they want to push out. That's it.
About them in so many different ways and how just they are as a company. But this is really just, it reinforces everything that everyone has talked about, to Crunchyroll being more corpo, to Crunchyroll lacking communication, for Crunchyroll not...
I mean, with them also being acquired by Sony, right? I think the whole corporate structure, the whole culture is going to get even more stringent. And if you really think about it, what do you think is in the best interest of Crunchyroll at the end of the day? Just remember, at the end of the day, most things can just be like solved with follow the money. What incentives are at play here? Let's think about this for a second. Crunchyroll, their best incentive is to pander towards the average person who came out to watch Solo Leveling and those popular shows. If they give an award ceremony and recognize these people's favorite shows, without caring about what other competition there may be, without caring about what the quality of anime is beyond just engagement metrics, it's in their best interest, again, to glaze such as Solo Leveling. And that in turn will validate the average people, who then may continue subscribing to Crunchyroll and watching more anime on their platform, right? Maybe this is unreasonable. I don't think this is unreasonable. I think this makes a lot of sense. It's in their best interest to do this, to appease the normies, the average person, right? There's a greater like tourist wave coming in to watch Solo Leveling and stuff like that.
Not really listening to people, for Crunchyroll to just like trying to pat themselves on their own back with some things, like for instance Solo Leveling winning. Just everything about this just reeks of just incompetence, poor communication, and corpo. It's not a good look. This is legitimately not a good look. And
I mean, I think that objectively it is smart to do this if you're focusing on trying to capture that tourist audience and to validate them and make them feel like, oh wow, the anime that you watched on our platform, guess what? It was anime of the year. Again, if their goal is to make as much money as possible, I think that this is actually competent. You could argue then that what about the people that are upset and frustrated? At the end of the day, I think that is much more insignificant part of the demographic that they have. And I think it's actually in their best interest, again, if it's just about making money, to pander towards these new wave of tourists coming in.
The fact that you have your judges, Glass Reflection, talking about his experience and how he didn't get an actual vote and it was just nominations is insane. Now, I do want to go on record and say this. I was told by an anonymous source that some judges did get a second vote. Now, I'm not going to name drop who told me this because I don't want to get them in trouble, but they are a very credible source.
Source? Just trust me, bro. All right, I'll trust you.
What I'm trying to say is that it's clear this reinforces the poor communication. At least from this perspective of what Glass Reflection is talking about, he was unaware, was never even told that he...
Why would that be the case? Why would Glass Reflection not get a second chance, but some other people would? Well, there's probably some sort of favorability ranking within corporate structures, right? They probably think that Glass Reflections is a bit too raw, right? You are not enough of a sellout. You are too raw with your takes and you speak for the masses, and therefore, we don't want to give you another chance. We want to silence you, but rather favor the other judges who maybe are willing to play by Crunchyroll's rules. And if you think of it like that, maybe that's the case.
He would get a vote before the voting went public for the Anime Awards, while some judges were able to do a second vote. So whatever happened there, clearly some bad communication. That is the initial bad starting point right there, is just very bad communication. However, what this entire segment here paints as a picture, even if we disregard that fact, it paints a picture that the voting process for this year was stacked against not just the judges, but just anyone that remotely watches a lot of anime. It legit is everything that everybody criticizes and memes on about the Crunchyroll Awards.
Okay.
It's a popularity vote.
Yeah.
This has obviously been evident for a very long time. There's evidence to support this for a while, and it definitely, Glass Reflection and others in this tried to communicate that they have tried to actively fight back against that for years. But this year...
that doesn't, again, work in the favor of Crunchyroll. What is the point of acknowledging these other shows that are not as highly coveted? Like, for example, if Apothecary Diaries won Anime of the Year, do you think that's going to be a better outcome for Crunchyroll, the platform, than, let's say, Solo Leveling? I just don't think so. If the incentive is money, you want to confirm and validate those who are part of the bigger demographic, the monkeys who enjoy Solo Leveling. If you acknowledge Apothecary Diaries, yeah, you're going to appease the hardcore anime audience, but they are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So just, again, if you always think about these incentives, everything makes a lot more sense. It's way more clear-cut. That's why I believe there should be other categories, or even an entirely different award system that maybe Giga could host, straight up. If I was Giga and I had his influence and power over the anime community, I would straight up host my own award show and have other, relevant and people who are aware of animes on a greater depth than just Solo Leveling, and be able to highlight and celebrate those series as well. To expect this from Crunchyroll will be an impossible thing. It's a pointless endeavor, and the faster you can acknowledge that this is just a bullshit corpo popularity contest to make more money, the faster you can understand, this is why it's going on.
It's very clear that everybody, a lot of content creators and everybody associated is speaking out about this, that this year's Anime Awards was very different. It did not feel right. There was something off about them. And Solo Leveling sweeping like it did makes so much more sense now.
By the way, it's going to sweep next year too. And it's going to be a back-to-back because this is season 1 Solo Leveling. Remember, these are 2024 animes for the 2025 awards. So when we come for 2026 awards, bro... Oh, Sung Chin Mew, baby! Season 2 sweep! And the funniest part is, I think most people that voted for Solo Leveling in this award this year thought that they were voting for season 2, right?
Now, when you see this...
No one will remember Solo Leveling next year. You know what? That would be so funny. Because, again, who are voting for Solo Leveling? The average person. The average person does not have the IQ or, the... memory, or they probably won't even be around next year, right? So if they don't do something to do some sort of rallying cry, there's a good chance no one even votes for season 2 because they're just all gone. Maybe
this conversation and understand the insight behind the scenes. The judges nominated categories. They nominated what was on the Crunchyroll awards. The different judges did.
Bald
awards. The different.
No disrespect, but it's just a thing I do. Bald? Oh, two bald people. Yo, who are these people? It's funny that I should be saying that because they're probably going to be like, who the fuck am I instead? So these are other people who are deeply ingrained in the anime community, whether it be online content creation or the industry itself.
Judges did. Over 100 judges, by the way.
Cool.
Voted or not.
Cool. I'm just trying to see if there's anyone that I recognize. I honestly don't know, man. I'm sorry, guys. I honestly don't recognize anybody here.
Some might have voted, according to an anonymous source. But basically, what this shows us is that the public is what voted. And it was always going to be Solo Leveling as a victor for one big reason, and that is this
popularity.
Evidence right here. The voting for the Anime Awards for the public, according to Glass Reflection, when, because a lot of judges didn't probably even get to vote, the Anime Awards opened on April 3rd. My birthday, by the way.
Okay.
And everybody could vote for the Anime of the Year. And if we look at the date of when Solo Leveling Season 2 ended, it ended on March 30th, 2025. Not even a week after it ended, we were getting voting for Anime of the Year. And I want to remind everybody that Solo Leveling Season 2 was not in the categories.
Yeah,
it was
it's
just
Season 1
from 2024. So... regardless if that's true, if people knew that or not, it was always going to win because the fresh
recency bias, right? People are very hyped up and you got them engaged. And just like what we talked about next year, will season 2 even win? Well, if no one is making Solo Leveling content and the vast majority of the community don't even know what's going on about Solo Leveling, there's a good chance that they don't vote at all, right? These kind of trends, they go up and down. During the end of Solo Leveling, which just perfectly aligns with the voting system, the market is still hot. It hasn't cooled down just yet, so it makes a lot of sense why it would win.
Freshness of soul leveling was in people's minds for a very
yeah, they could drop a trailer, right? They could drop a trailer or something next year. Who knows, by the same time around. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but if it did, that could make the market hot again, yeah, rather than being it cold.
Not for a very long time, just fresh in their minds because it ended a few days prior. That no wonder people would vote for soul leveling. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So even if we put in the fact that the judges got to vote or not, it makes more sense now because of just how the awards were done this year. But let's get into the actual voting and nominees and what this actually means. So one thing I want to point out is that there is a lot of judges that participated in the Crunchyroll Anime Awards this year. Over 100. A lot of journalists, a lot of writers, a lot of content creators. But I noticed when I was looking at these different categories, there was a lot of big names, a part of major journalists and news sites and stuff that were a part of. Like this individual right here, he literally works with IGN.
Okay.
And I think anyone that knows how IGN is for
are we going to talk about how they're all compromised, that they don't actually speak on behalf of the public, but more of the different corporations that they respond to?
Reviews and stuff. I'm not saying he is a part of the problem of IGN. I'm not saying he's a bad writer or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just...
But there's like a track history, right, of journalists and editors, part of different, publishing groups, big corpa that simply have their own agenda to spew. These are not individual, like, opinions speaking on behalf of the public, but more like they're speaking on behalf of their own corporations.
Just saying that we know how IGN is and how reviews and stuff have been and just opinion pieces and stuff that's been over the years. And it's...
I agree, man. That's why these people are all compromised. These judges are all fucking frauds, bro. Put me on the fucking list. Yep. What incentives do I have, bro? I'm a dumbass fucking monkey watching every goddamn seasonal anime every season. I straight up think I have more credibility and real honest takes than any of these fucking frauds on this judges panel. Put a fucking anime reactor on there, pussies, you won't.
It's very clear that a lot of these judges, most likely that have been involved in this judging process, probably don't watch a lot of anime. They probably only watch the mainstream stuff, and then they talk about that mainstream stuff because obviously that will get them the most clicks. And let's explain what that means. So obviously, if you're a news site and you're wanting to write an article about Crunchyroll's Anime Awards, what's going to get the most clicks? Well, obviously something that is the most popular, aka solo leveling.
Yeah.
So why would anyone want to vote for something that is like underground, like Girls Band Cry, when they can vote for something like solo leveling?
It's not even that, right? It's Ninja Kamui or Girls Band Cry that fucking kills me. It's Ninja Kamui that won Best Original Series over Girls Band Cry and Train to the End of the World. Like, what the fuck? But there is inherently something flawed in the design of this system. You know how I constantly talk about how social media algorithms reward negative engagement, and therefore people will always rage bait and negative engage because that's what, the algorithm picks up on the engagement signs and goes viral? It's like, take that idea and put it onto this judging system, just like what Chibi just said. There are incentives of popularity chasing, clout chasing. What's the point writing articles and different things about lesser known shows when at the end of the day, it's all about profit, money. Therefore, inevitably, everything becomes a popularity contest, and lesser known shows that may actually even be better as an anime, disregarding the popularity, will never get recognized because of this system.
When obviously everybody will click on an article to talk about that instead of anything else. So there was clearly a lot of bias potentially put with the judges. I'm not saying this happened, but this also leads to problems when you have just so many judges that are even outside of the anime community. And the way to fix this, honestly, is...
Put the fucking random YouTubers on there, bro. I'm not even capping right now. I'm not saying I'm the most important person, but I truly do believe, who the fuck is my incentive? My incentive is to be as honest and as raw as possible to you guys. It does me no good to give you grifting takes about different things. I speak from the heart based on my own personal experience, and that's why people are compelled to listen to my voice despite me just being a man-child speaking out of a fucking random apartment watching all these animes. I think that the less you focus on these corporate motherfuckers and focus more on other people who genuinely just does it for the love of the game and people whose incentives are not backed by corporations, you're gonna have a lot more authentic, genuine representation of the anime you claim to love.
Is to lower the judge amount. There should be only like 10, 20 at most judges, and that is it. That is in this voting process, even if we disregard everything that we've already learned from this video clip. And the fact that you have over 100 judges deciding the categories, and once again, you know for a fact all these judges did not watch every anime. I don't expect them to, because there's like 200, 300 plus anime per year. But obviously, this is why you need to slim down the judge amount, and people that are just straight up dedicated to this, like completely dedicated, that will get a lot of anime out there and talk about it. And that's how you get stuff like this from previous years. This
is exactly, bro. Everything changes at 2020, man. Everything changed. What did I say? Demon Slayer and COVID together blew the floodgates of the anime community to a way more mainstream audience, and from there on out, we've only had action Unga Bunga shows be recognized. Cyberpunk probably can be argued against because this is not really like hardcore anime community. I think it really appeals to the Western audience because of the game and the whole like setting not being just like a Japanese high school. But if you look at the titles leading up to it, Devilman Crybaby, Made in Abyss, Yuri on Ice, and then you see Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, which is not just Unga Bunga. I think Attack on Titan has one of the most insane levels of writing and foreshadowing and deeper themes going on. But you can obviously, it still has a lot of mainstream appeal. JJK over here and Solo Leveling, right? Clearly something happened at 2020. It is not a coincidence. I genuinely believe when you have an environment where everyone is forced to stay inside, you are forced to stay inside. Do you know how many content creators blew up in 2020? Straight up. Everyone was locked the fuck inside and they had nothing to do but watch content online. Games like Genshin Impact popped the fuck up, not just because it was a polished game, but because the timing was perfect. Demon Slayer as well, great looking anime, but everyone was inside just consuming. So many e-commerce businesses, you got Amazon, Facebook, Google, and so on. These tech companies also overhired during that time because they saw, holy shit, everything is going up because everyone is inside, and our online businesses, we need to scale and therefore we need to hire more people. Everybody was fucking pumping it to the moon if you had some sort of online business back then, right? Because they're forced to stay inside. It is not a coincidence. It's not just the anime community. So many different things got impacted so crazily during 2020, man.
This is a tweet that blew up considerably since the Crunchyroll Awards, showcasing the Anime of the Year victors ever since 2017 to 2025, and everybody notices it, the radical shift from 2020 to 2025, and how the categories became more focused on battle shonen and just action animation. That's really what it was.
I could never imagine a show like Yuri on Ice to ever be recognized in, you know, the modern time right now. I have no clue what the Yuri on Ice is about, but I can just tell based off of the cover pic. A show about male figure skating, which has probably a lot of like slice of life and more like psychological aspects to it. There's no fucking shot that will ever appeal to these audiences that happens beyond 2020.
And when you look at like 2017 and 2018, it's clear we're never going to get a time period where anime like this ever wins. And the judges had a big deciding factor on probably why this happened in the first place. But regardless of that, what this comes down to, and the big takeaway is that there was just such poor communication on the end with the judges, to Crunchyroll and the fans and everything, that it resulted in the hot mess that we got, and why Solo Leveling swept as much as it did.
Now, when Chibi says miscommunication, it makes it almost sound like Crunchyroll made a mistake and they were not able to properly represent what they wanted to. If that is the case, I don't agree. I think this is very intentional. I think that the communication channels are intentionally obscured. I think they exactly know who they're pandering towards. They know exactly what's going to get them short-term profits, and they're simply doing that. It is all calculated and intentional. To think that this is a mistake on Crunchyroll's part, no. The only mistake is you guys thinking that they have some sort of like responsibility to represent these other animes. They don't. This is their awards, and they want to simply call Anime of the Year basically just the most popular anime, right? And I think that the semantics, the definitions of these awards should be changed, right? What the fuck does Anime of the Year mean at the end of the day? What's the most important thing that gets judged by it, right? Is it popularity? Not necessarily. Does bigger number necessarily mean better thing? I don't think so. But again, in a corporate award show where their incentives are just to make more money by appeasing their mainstream audience that watches Solo Leveling, intentional, by design.
It really is everything that people complain about. It was a popularity vote, nothing else. There was many different ways to handle this, and the fact that you have some judges saying they got a vote and some didn't is insane. Actually insane stuff. But yeah, I hope these three don't get in trouble. I mean, they're
I don't think Glass Reflection's gonna get a re-invite next year, bro.
probably not gonna get, maybe brought back for judging.
And they shouldn't. They don't need to. Fuck them, bro. Burn the bridges, straight up. Crunchyroll doesn't deserve Glass Reflections. Or Mother's Basement or whatever other, actual people, judges that have, the best interest for actual anime rather than be on the popularity contest. Fuck them.
For new anime awards for Crunchyroll, because obviously speaking out like this and how public it's now gotten.
We should boycott this shit, straight up. You know what the best way to do is? Stop watching these goddamn award show like I do. I only farm these clips because it's fun for drama. But the best thing you can do, straight up, stop voting for that shit. Stop participating in it. And talk critically about it. Make more noise saying how bad it is. Boycott it. Actively engage to disengage, which is what I'm doing right now. Bring down the credibility of this shit. Let everyone know exactly what's going on. And then have someone else like Giguk, for example, to host an organic, authentic, real award show where real anime beyond just popularity will get recognized.
Yeah, I don't see Crunchyroll wanting to work with them probably in the future, but regardless if that happens or not, this is a nice insight. It is a very nice insight to what went wrong and just the big inherent problem. So to reiterate my points, what needs to happen is better communication from Crunchyroll. Clearly,
won't happen.
Way better communication. We need to have earlier voting. I know that might be difficult.
No. I don't even agree with any of the shit she be saying. Why are we sticking with Crunchyroll awards? Straight up. Why are we? Why do we need to rely on them? We have our own means. We can do a grassroots award show. There are influential and big enough content creators out there that can do this shit on their own platforms. To expect this to happen from Crunchyroll is an impossible goal. It is a pointless endeavor.
Difficult because my anonymous source told me that trying to get voting out in January is incredibly difficult because of the holiday season and how Japan works. That's understandable, but there definitely needs to be something that is done, because having results anime awards happen in March, especially having a series that was in the bracket that was, just ended, is not good because it brings recency bias.
Yep.
So it's a mix of a lot of things. That's the issue here. And anime's supposed to be celebrated, and this is definitely what this attention.
If the award show cutoff was before winter 2025, meaning Solo Leveling Season 2 didn't even air just yet, I wonder what people would have voted with. Now, there is hype going into Season 2, a lot of marketing and trailers being done. I wonder if the outcome would have changed.
That is giving these anime awards is that it's a joke.
Maybe Dan Da Dan would have won because it just kind of recently ended during half a year ago during that summer. I don't know. Maybe, who knows, right? It's fun, thought process.
That is not what I think any company really wants, is to have your awards look like a joke and clowned upon. It is not.
See, they don't care about that because the people clowning on this is an insignificant population, right? How many times do we need to do this shit over and over again? Hold up 1 second. Microsoft Paint is freezing on me. But I keep mentioning how insignificant we really are in this grand ocean of what we call the modern audience. The overall anime audience. Sorry, MS Paint is being fucking stupid right now. 1 second. Let me just draw my fucking circles and you know what I'm talking about. Come on! 5, 4, 3, 2. Let me just open up another fucking MS console, bro. Jesus fucking Christ. So stupid. But this is it, right? So many people just live in their little bubbles and think that this is their entire reality. That we are not getting represented. But guess what? Crunchyroll don't really care about our voices. Do you think they give a fuck about what Chibi's saying to his audience or me when I react to his content? No. Because there's this bigger population out here who don't even know about any of this. They don't care, bro. They just care about hitting this market because this is a lot of fucking money over here. Who cares what these monkeys on the side are saying, right? Genuinely, who gives a fuck what we're saying, right? Because we are such an insignificant and a vocal minority, And a big portion of the anime audience just don't even care about that. It's, again, in their best interest to keep doing this shit. And the faster we can recognize that and move on and hold our own separate award ceremony, if you want that, that is the best outcome. To expect anything different from happening to Crunchyroll is a pointless endeavor. It's a waste of fucking time. Discredit them, boycott them, move on.
Not something you ever want to see, but that is what's going to happen. And this bombshell information definitely, this makes it look even worse than we even realized. So I'm going to leave it at that. There's a lot more I could say about this, but I'm just...
Comment time.
Wow, man. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? It's the most obvious outcome. I've been saying this shit's garbage, but y'all tune in every time and still get mad. From a trustworthy source, they told me some just, yeah. Source, just trust me, bro. Wasn't surprised at all, knowing that it's typical Crunchyroll. Yup. Solo leveling over Fraudulent as anime of the year is probably the biggest pile of horseshit I've ever seen. Don't get me wrong, solo leveling is fire, but it's nowhere near the fight scene, world building, and story that Fraudulent has and offers. That's an interesting one, actually. The Height of Magic episode versus, solo leveling Sakuga moments. I don't know which one's actually better. I remember the Height of Magic episode and Fraudulent's hair fluttering all over the face and crazy beams fucking happening. That was insane. At that point, I think we are being subjective with the animation take, right? It's like comparing like a 9.8 to like a 9.7. What's really better? It's a more personal take. Yeah, that checks out. Then again, it's Crunchyroll, so Crunchyroll awards as corrupt as the Oscars. Gasp. Yeah, because they're bought out, bro. If you want you will never have corporations to actually speak on behalf of the masses. The people's voice and opinions will never be recognized because they are beholden to what makes them money. Let's not forget Ninja Kamui winning an award. That's actually fucking crazy. I don't even care anymore. These awards mean nothing to me anymore. Based. Crunchyroll is not a partial entity. They will capitalize these awards. Yes, exactly. Not even trying to beat the solo leveling is an industry plant allegations leaning to them, in fact. No, solo leveling is not an industry plant. It simply just exists as a good anime. It's utilized as a tool by Crunchyroll to hype up, these sentiments, though. You forgot that A1, Aniplex, and Crunchyroll are owned by Sony. Oh, hey. I like that. Hold up. Let's get the tinfoil theory hat on. Sony owns A1 Pictures, Aniplex, and Crunchyroll. A1 Pictures being the studio of solo leveling, Aniplex and Crunchyroll kind of behind the distribution of solo leveling, and oh, wait a minute. Wow, Freedom belongs to Toho Animation. You know what? I like this. I love conspiracy theories. I'm not saying this is the truth, but now we have a different perspective where it's more spicy. That's the new narrative, baby. Sony is the biggest puppet masters of it all. They are simply masturbating to their own products. Solo leveling is owned by A1 Pictures and distributed by other sources such as Crunchyroll and Aniplex, and Sony owns them all. Therefore, it's the Sony Awards, baby. Yeah, also, I had a Koji profile picture. I would trust an Ayana Koji profile picture. I would. Please check out Chibi's video. Here's a link to the video. Go give it a like. Check out his other content for more stuff like this, and I'll see you next time.